Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, January the 4th, 2026, and this is the first episode of the Overtime Drive in the calendar year 2026. We hope you're all doing well. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Cole the Bear Thompson. As always, we have got a jam-packed show for you here on this Sunday afternoon, night, what have you. The College Football Playoff Semifinals are officially upon us. An SEC team, that being the Ole Miss Rebels, will try to punch their ticket to the national championship. Standing in their way is the Miami Hurricanes of the ACC. Of course, we'll also talk the other semifinal matchup briefly. Indiana and Oregon who'll be in the Natty. That's the big topic of tonight's show. Also, some other news and notes to get into. Transfer portal madness, as you can imagine, this time of year is leading many of the talking points and the storylines. And once again, guys, we are really excited to chat with you all. Also, of course, taking your questions, your comments all throughout the show. We want to hear from you. But as always, when we get going, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, guys. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts all across your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Follow him at Mr. Cole Thompson. Follow me at CPhilly19. We keep the yucks coming on social media, as you all know. And, of course, check out our friends over at Underdog, because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at Underdog. Download the app today. Use promo code SCCU. You're going to score $75 in bonus entries when you place your first $5 entry. Once again, guys, download that app, promo code SCCU, to get $75 in bonus entries today. Like I mentioned, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole the Bear Thompson. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly SEC football show, and we're here live on a Sunday night, January the 4th. And Cole, I'm just really excited that we're about to get past the holiday lull, if you will, that weird week between Christmas and New Year's. And, you know, it's great to get some downtime. It's great to enjoy some time with the family. It's great to relax, rest, you know, unwind, what have you, recharge the batteries, et cetera, et cetera. But I am admittedly excited to get back to the normal day-to-day, my friend, because here's the thing that's a little bit different for yours truly. As an entrepreneur, every day can be Friday if you truly want it to be. When all of your buddies are off, though, and truly every day is Friday or Saturday for them, let's just say it has been a nonstop marathon here in the city of Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm excited. I hate to say this to all of our folks listening. I'm excited for everybody to go back to work, to get back to the day-to-day, to get back to the normal Monday through Friday and bring some peace at the start of the 2026 calendar year. But either way, Cole, appreciate you taking the time. Really excited, man. We got a lot to talk about, and good to see you as always.
Maybe it's because if I work nonstop, like I basically have to pull myself away to go on vacation and do just a couple little things like that. Like maybe that's just why my brain is wired different. But like I don't feel that way. Surprisingly, I'm actually taking one day off, and I'm gonna go see you of all people tomorrow in Nashville. So if any of you are in the Nashville area and want to come meet the Bear, I'm going to the FCS National Championship, Montana State versus Illinois State. Bunch of other people are going to be there, so make sure you stop on by. But like I just like never stop. Like this is going to be like the one day until July I say, hey, we're just going to go pedal to the metal. We got content coming out nonstop, whether it be in work for college football, the NFL. I'm excited about it though, you know, and I'm really excited about breaking down this game because they're two completely different teams that you could ever envision going to take the field. And they're two teams that probably were the most doubted going into the playoffs in a lot of different reasons. For Ole Miss, you don't have a head coach. You got Pete Golding. You'll beat Tulane, but you're not beating Georgia. And on the flip side, people didn't want Miami in the playoff because if they were ranked behind Notre Dame. Well, both have answered the call and both have proven that they're good enough to go compete for a national title and go toe-to-toe with Indiana or Oregon. So it's been a really fun process watching the film of both these teams and what works and what doesn't, and what's going to be the reason why one of them goes ahead and punches their ticket down to South Beach.
Cole, I'm excited to talk about the game. You mentioned I'm excited to see you as well. The FCS national title, for, again, those who don't know, which could very well be a lot of you, although I feel like most of our audience, Cole, you're tuning into our show, tuning into our content. You're a diehard. You're a sicko. You know it's Montana State and Illinois State. I'll tell you this, by the way, because you'll get here tomorrow and see it firsthand. My friend, I was out and about in the city this weekend. Montana State is rolling deep. I mean, It was crazy the amount of Montana State fans out and about yesterday, all along Broadway, all throughout the city. They had like a big event, I think, at Barstool. They had an event at what's called Sky Deck, which is like a music venue on Broadway. I mean, it's just I've never seen so many, obviously, really any Montana State fans, but like they traveled deep. They're ready. And I saw like maybe 5 or 6 Illinois State fans. So
well, it's a shorter drive for them. They can come down tomorrow, or they can come down tonight and they just pay for a hotel one night and be calling it a day. Like Montana State, you got to travel in droves down to Tennessee.
Dude, and they did. No, they did. It's going to be a lot of fun. First Bank Stadium, interestingly enough, hosting that game. Also, by the way, side note, Cole ran into our guy Joe DeLeon yesterday out in Nashville. He was down here partying with the Montana State folks, not staying for the game, though. But, yeah, I'm going to the game. You're going to the game. I think, is TJ going to be in town?
TJ and Tom Hannafin will both be there from College Football Addiction. So
how about that?
A lot of people will be at the game, and we will be celebrating the dominant win by the Bobcats because of – I'm telling you what, Brett Vegan, this is a coach that was getting a lot of looks for the G5 Mountain West / new version of the Pac-12. He stuck around in Bozeman, and there's like a lot of praise of like what they're building up there to be like the next powerhouse like North Dakota State was underneath Chris Klieman.
Who knew Montana State could bring in, or really the FCS title could bring in so many of the stars of the college football world to Nashville, Tennessee. It's going to be fun.
First Bank Stadium.
Yeah, I'm excited to go to the game. I'm very excited to go to the game for sure. Cole, we're going to get into this game, though, the Ole Miss Miami game. Before we do, guys, a couple quick housekeeping items I want to get to. First things first, and we'll let you guys know specifically what the days, the times will be. We talked the last time we were on air. I've talked a lot on social media since about some of the facelifts, some of the changes, some of the exciting news with SEC Unfiltered. Well, that includes this show. We're going to be moving to a new schedule in preparation of the relaunch. Cole and I discussing earlier today. Right now, I believe we're 99.9%, if not 100%. It's going to be a Monday, Friday schedule, 2 o'clock Central Time, more of an afternoon show, obviously being no longer in season. These Sunday shows will be coming to an end. So it's either this one or we've got one more, but this very well maybe the last time you guys hear from us on a Sunday until the 2026 season picks back up, gets underway. Again, guys, we'll let you know exactly when it's happening, but right now I'd say Mondays and Wednesdays, 2 o'clock Central. That is where you're going to get the overtime drive, a.k.a. what the new name will be when we roll that out in just a few short weeks. Also, guys, on that note, I know this is the overtime drive. We're talking college football, but made the announcement earlier. We're only 40 days or so away from opening day. You guys know we run a college baseball show. I run a college baseball show. I am looking for a new co-host. So want to say thank you to our guy, Harrison Fant. Talked with Harrison a little bit earlier in the day and over the last week or so. He's still going to be doing some content with us. We got some other things he wants to pursue. So with that being said, I'm looking for a new co-host, twice a week show. If you know anybody who's interested, or if you yourself are interested, secunfiltered@gmail.com, or shoot us a DM. I would say this, by the way, because I've already had some people reach out. If you're not currently making content of some variety, don't waste your time reaching out. I can't put it any more bluntly. If you're not out there doing something, if you don't have something you can show as to why you'd be a good fit, then I'd probably say don't waste your time. But I know there's a lot of people out there in the college baseball community that I'm friends with, that I've associated with, I've chatted with. I have no doubts, and I've already been in conversation with some people. But anyways, want to throw it out there. If you know anybody you think be a good fit, if you think you'd be a good fit, reach out to us. And finally, Cole, something I want to tease, by the way, we are working for all of my Nashville Ole Miss folks, which I know there's a lot of you because I was with you watching the Georgia game just a couple days ago. We are actually working on throwing a watch party in the city of Nashville for the Fiesta Bowl, which obviously would be huge for a number of reasons, for the SEC Unfiltered brand, for our opportunity to just hang out with all the great Rebels, even though there's many of you out, although there are many of you out there that think I hate you for some unbeknownst to me reason, which I'm going to get into more in just a second. Yeah, but anyways, we are working on that with the Ole Miss Bar here in Nashville, specifically in Midtown. Again, we don't 110% have the green light yet, but they seem to be really interested. So obviously we are working hard to get that set in stone ASAP. Essentially just talked to him and said, hey, I want to come watch the game here anyways because I am not going to Glendale, Arizona. We may potentially be doing a pregame show, postgame show, live stream watch along, or maybe we're just there watching the game. We'll figure out all the details. But again, really, really excited for that. If you are in Nashville, an Ole Miss fan, which again, I know there are a ton of you, and that place will be packed on Thursday, no matter what. Something to be really, really excited about. So, anyways, just wanted to get that out of the way. Also, shout out to our folks in the live chat right now. We see you all out there. Our guy, Todd Nelson, I know you're just waiting on me to say another dumbass take like I had with the Georgia Bulldogs. I get it. Alan, I'm not going to the Fiesta Bowl unless Cole has not told me something. He is not going to Glendale, Arizona either. Yeah. Just after the first round of the playoff, that for me, from my travels, I was like, hey, I really want to sit back and just enjoy these games, watch these games. If a team makes the Natty, we'll see. More likely not than yes. But again, just let's get to that point first. Anyways, appreciate you all tuning in. We got others in the comments as well. Y'all keep them coming throughout the show. We definitely want to hear from you all. And certainly, I know there's a lot of Ole Miss folks out there that want to chirp at us and talk to us about what happened, because we got Ole Miss in Miami in the Fiesta Bowl this Thursday, January the 8th, 6:30 Central Time kickoff on ESPN there in Glendale, Arizona at State Farm Stadium. The Ole Miss Rebels, after taking down Georgia and quote-unquote shocking the college football world. I don't know that Ole Miss fans were shocked, but many of us out there who love and support and appreciate this sport were a little bit surprised by the result. Ole Miss finds themselves still as a 3.5-point underdog. The over-under is set at 52.5 by whatever sports book you look at. Guys, Ole Miss leads the all-time series 2-1 against Miami. And Cole, the last time they met, it came all the way back. Who can forget in 1951, that classic? Miami won that game 20-7. Ole Miss winning the previous two matchups in like 1940 and 1938. So, again, who can forget those games? I want to start with this, though, Cole, as we get into, we got our top storylines we're going to dive into, key players, keys to the game, and we'll lock in a prediction. So it was a pretty tough week for the SEC Unfiltered boys, for Cole and I specifically, because – you know, we love to obviously, listen, we're not scared to have an opinion, make big picks, have big predictions, whatever it is. And I don't know how this happens, but both of the predictions that I publicized from Cole and I don't know that we could have been more wrong. Like, nope. I don't know if it was possible. So I know obviously Cole has already owned up to his pick of Alabama over Indiana and saying there is no way in hell that Alabama loses to Indiana. Well, we all watched that game. It was absolutely disaster class from the moment the ball was hiked. I went on record and said that Kirby Smart was going to run circles around Pete Golding, which I will admit at halftime, when Ole Miss kind of messed up the field goal situation, I did sort of feel like, okay, that there it is a little bit. There's that disorganization. Obviously, the rest is history. Ole Miss wins the football game. They feel like a team of destiny at this point to a degree. More on that in a second. But I want to make this point very clear, because if you don't know how I feel about Ole Miss at this point, it's shame on you. I've been to Oxford twice this season. I went to Oxford when I could have went to Norman or College Station for the College Football Playoff. And I said, you know what? I want to go back to Oxford. I love Oxford. I love the Ole Miss folks. I love Hotty Toddy. A pick is a pick, and it's never personal. The one thing I'll say, though, Cole, that I got a lot of, and I want to make this very clear for right now, but also for future reference. The one thing I will never do is apologize for making a prediction. So there were a lot of Ole Miss folks that wanted me to apologize for doubting them, apologize for picking Georgia. I'm never going to fucking apologize for making a prediction. So you can just forget that. I will tip my cap. I will eat my crow, and I'm happily doing so today. I'm not mad that Ole Miss is in this position, and I'm hoping they win the whole damn thing, as I know Cole is as well. But I will never apologize for a prediction that is soft, that is weak, and that is not at all what we are about. And if anyone within SEC Unfiltered is ever on the airwaves or on social media or what have you apologizing for a pick, they're going to hear it from me, because we don't do that. We don't apologize for picks here. So we're going to make a pick for this game. It'll be right. It'll be wrong. It'll be one of the two. But damn it, we will stand on it, and we will either be happy that we got it correct, or we will eat crow from whatever fan base it is that we got it wrong. I just want
you're going to hear a lot of it, because I promise you, I'm still hearing from IU people 4 days later. So you're going to hear a lot of it.
I just wanted to throw that out there. It's all love, Rebs. I promise you. Hey, this hat wasn't worn by accident here. For those that are listening via podcast, shout out Hovey Dry Goods, who sent this to me. One of my favorite hats now ever. The BTA belt to ass hat. This was not worn by accident for this show today. All right, enough of my rambling. I'll get off the soapbox, Cole. Let's actually talk about the game. I just mentioned this when it comes to top storylines in this game. Ole Miss, to me, and this is not, by the way, taking anything away from Ole Miss. Some will look at or listen to what I'm about to say and say, oh, you're kind of writing off what they've done. They are just a damn good football team, and Pete Golding has done one hell of a job being the lead guy in his position. I mean, you look at so many different facets, what they did well against Georgia, but they are starting to feel like a team of destiny. And like I say that as a compliment, dude. Like sometimes it just feels like you're when you're on the road to a title, you need the ball to bounce your way. You need things to work out in your favor. And if you get to this point, obviously the ball has bounced your way more than a couple times. So maybe Miami's saying the same thing. But if you're Ole Miss, man, I mean, you got absolutely nothing to lose. You got a shot in the national championship on the line. It's big team of destiny vibes in Oxford right now.
I think the other thing that you got to look at is you're playing with confidence, and you're playing like you can handle business against anybody, and nothing really stands in your way. You went into Athens and you found a way to come up short because of Trinidad Chambliss had a bad fourth quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, he makes two of the biggest plays of the entire season. And the reason why now people will talk about him as probably folklore out in Oxford, and he'll have a statue potentially built of him because of what he was able to accomplish. You learn from your mistakes, and now when you have that kind of figured out, you also understand what is the identity of your team. But the thing that I will say is these are two completely different teams, and the one that's able to figure out the other one's weakness is going to come away walking away with the dub. Because when you talk about Miami football, Miami's old school. Miami's physical, punch you in the mouth, and they don't take any prisoners. They are all about making you crumble underneath their pressure, and they thrive in the trenches. I mean, you talk about what you got with Ruben Banning, you talk about what you got with Akeem Mesidor, and you talk about that offensive line. Chris, I'll be completely honest. That probably is the best offensive line left in the college football playoff. But then on the flip side, you talk about explosives, and you talk about highlights, and you talk about the vertical plays and the 20-yard gains and the ability to manipulate the line of scrimmage to get a quarterback to throw into double coverage. That's Ole Miss. That's what Ole Miss does. So these are two teams that both were doubted for vastly different reasons. Both had to prove that they could win against a quality opponent. Both really did experience, and I would say kind of put the country on the map on what they're capable of coming into a game out in Glendale that probably is going to have one or two opportunities to see where the weak point is on either side, and that will be the critical factor on if they win this football game or not. That's it. And that's what makes both of them, I think, a team of destiny, because we all were focusing on what's going on with Indiana and how well they played against Alabama. And they did. They kicked the crap out of Alabama. But I don't think that we're still focusing enough on what Ole Miss and what Miami have done. Both of them have proven to us they have all the intangibles to be able to go on a run past this game and claim their first national title in the 21st century.
Cole, you mentioned the physicality of this Miami team, and I agree with you, both sides of the football. And you look at what their defensive front has done specifically, I think that is a huge storyline in this game. That's a major, major matchup. Miami's pass rush, to say it has been fierce in their two college football playoff games, is putting it very, very, very lightly. Cole, they have 12 sacks in their two college football playoff games. They held Ohio State, who I believe – 45, under 50 rushing yards in the football game. If you're Ole Miss, man, listen, Trinidad Chambliss, we saw what he did against Georgia. They weren't able to get after him. He's able to scramble. I mean, he made some miracle plays in that game, but you're going to have to be able to find balance with Kawan Lacey. You're going to have to keep Trinidad Chambliss upright for the most part. Much easier said than done. But that Ole Miss offensive front against that Miami defensive front, I mean, Cole, it's certainly, maybe it's not the only place where this game is won and lost, but it's going to be a major facet in the game for sure.
Has to be. And I think what's really interesting is that you talk about Ole Miss's offensive line. It's been good this year. I wouldn't say elite, but it's only given up 29 sacks. Chris, the two offenses that we saw in Kyle Field and last week out in the Cotton Bowl each gave up 11 sacks during the regular season. Miami had 8 sacks against against Texas A&M. They had 5 sacks against Ohio State. They do such a good job, and they don't rush many. They rush 4. Like, that's kind of the crazy part about them is they trust their defensive line with Akeem Mesidor and with Ruben Bain to come run some stunts and work their way on the interior to put pressure on a quarterback into making ill-advised throws. And they have such good coverage downfield that they even get some coverage sacks because of second chance opportunities where you have an Xavier Lucas covering a wide receiver or a Keontae Scott in the nickel making big time plays. It's crazy to say that, Trinidad Chambliss is probably the most dangerous quarterback left in the tournament. And I think at this point, he is your X factor. He's in charge of everything that happens in this game, good, bad, indifferent. But as much as we can say that the Miami Hurricanes have not seen a quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss, guys, Ole Miss has not seen a defensive line like Miami. And so, again, it's going to be one of those things where you got to ask yourself, what is going to break first? How quickly can we see this Ole Miss offensive line be able to contain Akeem Mesidor or Ruben Bain? And I say Akeem Mesidor or Ruben Bain because you're not going to do both. Like, simply put, you're not going to be able to contain both. You have to be able to understand going into this, if you're Charlie Wise Jr., they're going to get in the backfield. They're going to get some pressures. So how do you, as Trinidad Chambliss, run quick tempo? How are you, making calls to the line of scrimmage to switch to an audible and be able to get your wide receivers to line up in the right spot? How are you able to maneuver outside the pocket and connect with a Caden Lee or a Deuce Alexander or a Winston Watkins for a 7-yard gain and then get everyone to kind of play near the box so that way eventually you can get your shot down the field to Dejon Stribling and Harrison Wallace? Because both of them had phenomenal games, over 100 receiving yards. But the reason was there were opportunities for them to be able to capitalize on the 15 to 18-yard route. I don't know if you're going to have that time to do so. So you got to be able to manipulate that line to be able to win your battles if you are Trinidad Chambliss, because they are going to get in the backfield. They are going to pressure you. And then when you get to that point, you got to survey, because the last thing that you want to do is throw a football to a guy like Winston Watkins on a 6-yard slant and think you got it. And here comes Keontae Scott like he did against Ohio State, running it back the other way for 6. And he can do that on the regular. He has been probably one of the most underappreciated players in college football this year from a standpoint of what we've seen so far from this Miami defense.
Cole, on the flip side, Ole Miss defensively, obviously we've had some gripes about them throughout the season with some of the rush defense, what have you, but they've been solid. And I think the college football playoff been fairly solid, was able to do enough against Georgia in what was a higher scoring thriller. I think what's interesting, though, again, taking a look at the Hurricanes, can Ole Miss rattle Carson Beck? That is such a key component here, because obviously as good as Miami has been, they did lose 2 games this season. And in those 2 losses, Cole, 6 interceptions for Carson Beck. Now, again, he has been phenomenal in the college football playoff. Did just enough, obviously, against Ohio State. That game, more of a defensive slugfest, a defensive battle. But Cole, getting after Carson Beck, making him make mistakes. We've seen him do it before. He's playing at an elite level. So is Trinidad Chambliss. That quarterback battle is going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I think if I'm Ole Miss, if I'm Pete Golding, what are they able to dial up to get the pressures on him, make him make some uncomfortable throws? And again, the proof's in the pudding. If you're able to do that, you get the football off of him, there's a good shot you're going to win the ball game.
Well, it goes a step further than that, man. And that's, if you want to make Carson Beck throw, you got to slow down Mark Fletcher and Shamar Brown. And that's really what the case is. And both of them have had their moments. You look at that last drive against Ohio State, that was the Shamar Brown show. He was phenomenal at making contact. And I will give credit where credit's due. Carson Beck, who's getting paid a lot of money to be that special quarterback, lowered his shoulder against Ohio State on a 3rd down play to be able to get that first down. Like, that takes credit where you have got to give 150% and you still might not get the play. I will say Ole Miss's defense has come to play. We got to give a lot of credit to what we have seen from how well they've been able to attack, how well they've been able to get in the backfield and make pressures. And they've gone up against quarterbacks that rely heavily on rushing attacks and the dink and dunk to be able to get their way to victory. But for any of this to happen with a guy like Carson Beck, number one, you got to live in 3rd and long. You got to be living in that 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 range. And that starts by shutting down Mark Fletcher. A&M did a really good job in the first half of making basically Miami's offense obsolete. And there were a few explosive plays here and there, but for the most part, it was a lot of dink and dunk, and then 3 and outs, then punts at midfield. And that's what you're going to have to be able to accomplish if you are Ole Miss. And that starts with getting pressure from the outside with Prince Will and Manley Ellen, and when Serentane Perkins coming up and making a big-time stop in the backfield, and William Eccles up the middle doing that. I will say, Pete Golding does have a good gauge on what is Carson Beck. Because who was the quarterback when Ole Miss beat Georgia last season?
It was Carson Beck.
So how much has he grown from that moment? The other thing is, how much has Miami been able to game plan a strategy to be able to make sure their rushing attack is very perfect? Because the other thing that's really going to be important here, Chris, it's time of possession. Like, if you are Miami, you want to keep this as low scoring as possible, because that does not help out Ole Miss whatsoever. If it's something like a 17-14 game or even a 20-14 game, that leans Miami. You need this to be in the 30s if you are Ole Miss. And I'm not saying that Miami can't do it. Miami scored 30 points this year. They can play that way. But the thing is that they've been able to go 7-minute drives, 8-minute drives. That puts pressure on an offense to kind of go a little bit more up-tempo and be able to match that and be able to make sure that they get as much time as possible to be able to score. So that's where, again, making sure that Mark Fletcher and Shamar Brown are basically obsolete, almost critical. And that's a lot easier said than done. Ohio State was one of the best defenses in college football. They had their struggles against them. But Ole Miss is built different. I mean, Ole Miss has shown you that they can go toe-to-toe with anybody in college football. Can they do so with a hot running back like Mark Fletcher and with Shamar Brown? And also just be able to make Carson Beck beat you. Because Carson Beck's been playing good. He's been playing good in the system that they've given him. What happens if you have to throw some audibles? What happens if you tell him to improvise? How can you make that the main story?
Miami's got weapons, no doubt. Cole, I would say this. I know you agree. Ole Miss has their own share of weapons as well, and I think this will be the best offense that Miami has faced off against in the college football playoff. Of course, they did shut down Texas, A&M, and Ohio State, with the level that Trinidad Chambliss has been playing at, some of his playmakers on the outside, the plays they've been making. Obviously, we know about Kawan Lacey and what he's been up to. This one's going to be a fun one. I'm going to be really curious, Cole, to see, does this game lean more high-scoring shootout-esque, which is the game that Ole Miss has been playing? Obviously, one game they put belt to ass against Tulane, but the Georgia game, higher-scoring game, a lot of offense, a lot of dramatics. Or does it lean more towards what Miami has been doing, winning these knockdown, drag-out fights, kind of like these slugfests? I mean, even the game against Ohio State, right? One of those touchdowns was a pick six. I'm not sure if there was another defensive touchdown. I'm not recalling off the top of my head, but I know that one specifically. And obviously the A&M game was just a defensive masterclass. I wonder, or is it somewhere in the middle? Like, I wonder what the vibe of this game is. And depending on which way it goes, there's a higher scoring game. I would imagine a higher scoring game is going to benefit Ole Miss more than Miami, although Miami's got weapons, I think, to keep up. So just the flow of this game will be interesting.
Like, Malachi Toney has not been able to show off, I think, all of his intangibles that you want to see if you're a Hurricanes fan. You know, last game, CJ Daniels was the number one wide receiver. But why was he the number one wide receiver? Because Ohio State said, we're letting anybody else beat you, but not 10. Like 10's going to be obsolete. And then Keelan Marion got involved, and Elijah Lofton got involved. I'm not sure. And again, that was one of the best secondaries in college football. And Ole Miss is a damn good secondary. They're top 25 in yards allowed per play, yards allowed per game, turnover ratio. They've been good at being able to go toe-to-toe with great wide receivers. You already had kind of a good gauge on how to be able to defend shifty playmakers in space with Zachariah Branch last week. Dude, Malachi Toney's built different. Like, there is a reason to say you can take a 7-yard slant pattern, he will go to the house for a gain of 50. You could say that CJ Daniels will be able to make a big-time one-handed grab and set us up inside the red zone. Elijah Lofton can move the football. Keelan Marion can move the football. So Carson Beck is going to have some weapons. And just because he hasn't been asked to deliver a game where, hey, you got to throw for you got to throw and complete over 75% of your passes. You know, that doesn't mean that he can't do it. I mean, look at last game. He only threw for 138 yards. But he completed 73% of his throws. He was given what was handed to him, and he delivered on that standpoint. So if you ask me what is going to be, what I'm really interested in is what if it's the middle ground? Because I agree with you. High scoring, Ole Miss. Low scoring, Miami. 24 points. Who does that lean? Is it Kewan Lacey being able to make a couple of big-time runs in the open space? Is it getting the explosives? Because remember, Charlie Weiss Jr. also is an offensive coordinator. He's not afraid to let it fly. Like, he is going to make sure that you will uncork one and rip it down the field early on to Harrison Wallace, to Jean Stribling, to Deuce Alexander. And that might be a tempo setter, I think, for Ole Miss on what they can expect in this game. You want to go with the big shot bombs. You want to go with the explosive plays. And you have the weaponry that can win those ones. Is that going to lean more in favor of Ole Miss? Or will the defense be able to put so much pressure on Trinidad Chambliss that they keep him in line? Because part of the thing that makes Trinidad such a dangerous player is the fact that he is mobile and he does have backyard BS. And backyard BS works a lot. And it needs to work in this game. Because I'll tell you, you ain't slowing down Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain at that line of scrimmage for all night. You make it a handful of reps to where you win, but they're going to win theirs too. And so you're going to need the backyard BS. And that's going to be the really interesting part.
Cole, let's lock in our key player for this game. Who's the guy that we think is going to be at least one of the X factors in determining victory between Ole Miss and Miami? I'll start because mine is very simple, low-hanging fruit. It's the easy pick. But, Cole, I got to go Trinidad Chambliss. I just – what he did against Georgia, to say it was special, much of it was beyond comprehension at times, really, truly. And you need that. You need that to make a run. You need that to, pull a quote-unquote upset like they did against Georgia. They're the underdogs yet again. And if you're going to make a run to the national championship, potentially have a chance to win it, he's got to be special yet again, especially against, again, a Miami pass rush that even if Ole Miss's offensive line plays exceptional, right, like there's still going to be moments in this game where he's going to be under duress. He's going to be under pressure. And, like, there were times in that game against Georgia where it's like, Trinidad Chambliss was just better than you. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, sometimes their guy's better than your guy. Even if you're in the right spot and right scheme and you're in position to make a play, and Trinidad Chambliss is just better than you. He's got to be better than Miami at times. Continue the way that he's been playing, obviously, but maybe even bring that to another level against a really, really good red-hot Hurricanes defense and defensive front. So for me, Trinidad Chambliss has to play well for the Rebels to win this football game. It's a very easy answer, but it's my answer. He's my key player of the game in this one.
Yeah, it's very simple on me, and it's on the opposing side. What's been the one key element for Miami in this college football playoff? They're keeping Carson Beck upright. They're letting him have time to throw. He's able to do his taxes for 2025. He's already making some phone calls to his girlfriend behind the line. Oh, look, there's an open receiver. Think. He's been sacked 4 times against 2 of the best defensive lines in college football. Guys, this is the Centurion Perkins game. This is the game to where the man who called out Lane Kiffin first, the guy who was not afraid to talk mad smack, he's already re-signed for next season. He had arguably the game-altering moment defensively on 4th down against Carson Beck. Strip sack, set up a Trey Wallace touchdown. You got to have him basically guns a-blazing. He's got to shoot out of a cannon. I want him to look like he is a sniper that already understands I got one bullet in the chamber. I have got to make this hit. And that's got to be him every single drive, putting pressure on Carson Beck, winning in the interior, running some stunts with William Eccles and Principal Ewan Manley Ellen, working his way to the outside corner. He has got to be the speedster off of the edge that is putting Carson Beck in a position to where he has got to maneuver. He has got to get outside the pocket because Carson Beck can be mobile. He ran some plays in both the Texas A&M game and in the Ohio State game that allowed his legs to do just enough. He can do those things. You've got to be able to get him to slow it down. And you got to be able to put Carson Beck on his ass at least twice. It's been 4 sacks in 2 games. You got to double that if you are Ole Miss.
Cole, let's move into the key to the game. I'll let you start with this one. One key for you in this football game.
Yeah, pretty simple. It is to get into field goal range for one Mr. Lucas Canero. That's it.
He was
because
money.
If you're telling me right now this comes down to special teams, the one advantage that I do think is a slight lean in favor of Miami, they got Malachi Tony returning punts. That guy can be dangerous in the open field. He gets that field position. But if you were Ole Miss, you just watch this kid make a 56-yard field goal, and then he gets set up with a 57-yarder, and ice in his veins, deliver in again. And then with a 43-yarder, not afraid. drop your you-know-what and deliver a kick that will send you to the College Football Playoff Semifinals. Every drive, if you can walk away with 3, it at least gives you an opportunity. Because your defense may get 1 stop, and that might be the difference in this game. You get a punt. You get 2 touchdown passes. You get 5 field goals. The last time I checked, that's over 30 points. 30 might be enough for you to win. You got to get field goal range. You need to be able to have the explosives. You need to be able to trust your rushing attack. You got to mix some things up offensively. But the key to me has got to be just trusting the fact that you can get in the field goal range.
Points are going to be valuable, no doubt. Cole, my key to the game, 6 interceptions, like I mentioned in Miami's 2 losses this season, but you can't rattle Carson Beck if you can't contain the Miami rushing attack, the incredible duo of Mark Fletcher, Shamar Brown. You got to be able to limit them and get them in some 3rd and long, some obvious passing situations. We've seen it those times. You can rattle Carson Beck. You can make him make mistakes. But again, if you cannot do that, you're not going to have that opportunity. Again, I do think if Ole Miss is going to win this football game, they are going to have to get the football of Carson Beck. The proof's in the pudding. The numbers don't lie. You got to force him into some mistakes. And you're right. He's played phenomenally. I mean, I remember watching specifically that play where he puts his head down against Ohio State and gets the first down. You talk about winning over your teammates and your fan base and your coaches and your just everyone. Man, those kind of plays are that's guts. That's guts. And, certainly he is playing at an elite level, but you've got to get him playing outside of his norm, outside of his comfort zone. And that first starts with containing the rushing attack. If they're able to run it at will, and that's been the weakness for Ole Miss at times, well, Carson Beck's not really going to have to do all that much because quarterback's best friend's a running game. So, and again, much easier said than done. That's why I say you don't have to stop them. You just have to contain them enough.
Because they're going to get their yards. The question is,
this game might come down. I mean, the Georgia game came down to like 1 or 2 stops, really, truly. This one, depending on the flow of the game, it might come down to that again. So can you just get the 1 or 2 stops you very well are going to need in this football game? Cole, that being said, let's lock in some picks. Let's lock in some predictions. It's the Ole Miss Rebels with a shot at the national championship. Who would have thunk it? Again, the Miami Hurricanes of the ACC standing in the way. Rebels and Canes. Bear, would you like the honors or you want me to start first?
I'll go first. Both these teams, I think, have proven more than enough that you can't just say because of branding or because of stars next to your name that you're guaranteed a spot in the College Football Playoff National Championship. You can't. Because many of us picked Georgia. Many of us picked Ohio State. Many of us also looked at Alabama and said, you know what? It's so that big script Crimson A. That will carry a lot of weight. And it didn't. It didn't. Being mentally prepared in so many little details goes such a long way. And these are 2 teams that do that at a high-end level. So you're going to have to disrupt Trinidad Chambliss. If you're Miami, you're going to have to force Carson Beck to make some of the big-time throws. And he has. And Trinidad Chambliss has been disrupted multiple times. So it can lean either way, and neither team should feel comfortable until that final whistle blows. There are 3 main things I'm looking at in this game. The first is how quickly can you set the tempo if you are Ole Miss? The ability to get those deep shots to DeJon Stribling, to Harrison Wallace, to even Daquan Wright, and Luke Haas being a really big find in the transfer portal, coming up clutch with that touchdown pass. Those are going to be some things that are really going to set the tone for Charlie Weiss Jr. How is he going to scheme up some things to where you're looking at the line of scrimmage, you're playing with tempo, you're playing with you're playing with finesse, and you're also playing with the fast trigger. So that way you evade the one thing that could kill you, which is Mesidor and Ruben Bain coming at you. The second thing I'm looking at is how quickly, if you are Miami, can you just rely on your run game? Because the more that you can go ahead and get to the second and third level of the defense and force linebackers and defensive backs out to tackle you, that's a gain of 7. That's a gain of 8. Guess what that does? It makes it 3rd and 1. Makes it 3rd and 2. 3rd and 2 opens up the playbook for Shannon Dawson, who's been he's been such in his bag. What a brilliant play design to get the ball to Mark Fletcher when he was running to the line of scrimmage and then just a little dink shot over the top like a point guard. Like little things like that. That's what you live in if you're Miami. That starts having a good run game. And number 3, which special team stands out the most? Which special teams is the one that will end up making the biggest acumen to this game? Miami and Ole Miss both, I think, could win this game and win the national championship. But it's Trinidad Chambliss. It is the kid who came from Division II. It is the kid who decided to put his faith in a program where he was going to be a system quarterback, and he may only be a rotation guy. Comes on in, wins over Oxford, wins over America, puts his name on the map for the NFL. Everybody is talking about what could happen if this game goes and Ole Miss is losing. Does he come back for another year? Does he go to LSU? Guys, he can go pro for all we know. He's gained a lot of national attention from the NFL sidelines. There are things that you look at and they say, in a weak quarterback class, but there's not really a solidified QB1 or QB2 or QB3, he could end up being that dude. And Ole Miss, they understand they're still being doubted. Many people are looking at the Rebels and they're saying, this is where it happens for Lane. This is where having Lane was going to come in handy. This is where you need your head coach. You got your head coach. His name is Pete Golding, and he's earned the respect, damn it. And he's earned the right to be able to say that this Rebels team is good enough to go against anybody in college football. This Rebels team is built to be able to make a run like nobody's ever seen before. Don't care about where he is. Don't care about who's not here. If you ain't with us, screw them. We don't need you. They don't need Lane Kiffin. They don't need anybody. They need themselves to deliver. And how about once again, Lucas Canero setting up a game-winning field goal to push the Ole Miss Rebels to a national championship. There will not be a swan song coming to the likes of Miami folks down in their own building of Hard Rock Stadium, because the Rebels, they're taking over South Beach in a 31-28 victory out in the Fiesta Bowl.
My first thought, Cole, with this game is this is the matchup we were all expecting, right?
Yep.
I remember saying I thought the winner of Georgia-Ohio State would win the national title, and it's just kind of funny how neither one of them are in this game. So, yeah, I would love to know the amount of people that in their bracketology picked Ole Miss and Miami to meet at this point. But here we are. You know, like I mentioned, man, Ole Miss to me is starting to feel more and more and more like a team of destiny. And once again, that is not a shot at Ole Miss to any way belittle what they've done and to make some, you know, in an attempt to make some point that there's some Cinderella story that's how in the world did they get this far, because they're a damn good football team and they've earned everything they've gotten. It's just sometimes the story, you can't script it to a degree. And what Ole Miss has done to this point under Pete Golding, what they've been through over the last month and a half plus, to get to the point they're at now with a shot at winning a national title on the line is really special. Miami's a damn good team too. I'll give them a lot of credit. They, like you mentioned, they are physical on both sides. They will punch you in the face. Carson Beck, for all the crap he took over the offseason, all the crap that, you know, he got from Georgia fans and still does get, he's a darn good quarterback, and he's playing at an elite level. And you mentioned they've just got weapon on weapon on weapon on weapon on weapon. So many different guys that are stepping up offensively, and then defensively, the defensive front is just incredible. I mean, they're ferocious. They get after you, and it's going to be a challenge for Trinidad Chambliss. It really, really is. It's going to be a challenge for the Ole Miss offensive front. I mean, it's, you know, as much as I respect Kirby Smart in Georgia, this is easily the best defense they have played to this point, because obviously seeing some things with Georgia, the lack of pass rush. Trinidad Chambliss obviously played a role in that, but I give Miami credit where credit's due. I think this is the best defense that Ole Miss will have faced. So that matchup is going to be really interesting. You know, the battle in the trenches on both sides. It's going to be to a degree a lunch pail game, but I also think it is going to be a higher scoring game. Just in these moments, Cole, stars shine, and I think stars will shine again. I think we're going to get a higher scoring game here. I like the over in the ball game. The over-under sitting at 52.5. Like I mentioned, though, and I took a lot of flack for my pick in the quarterfinal. I bet it all on Georgia, and it blew up in my face. And I've been accused of being an Ole Miss hater, and there's a lot of folks that think I've been doubting the Rebs all season. I get it in person. You've been doubting us all year, man. When are you gonna learn? They'll never forgive me for picking them to lose to Mississippi State in that Egg Bowl. That's for sure. That was a bad pick. Listen, that was a swing and a miss. And like I told you, I will never apologize for a prediction. I will never do it. I will tip my cap. I will eat my crow. But if I'm going to eat my crow again, Cole, it is not going to be at the hands of Ole Miss fans. It will have to be fans of the U coming in my mentions because I've doubted the Rebs long enough. It's the year of the Rebel, at least what it feels like to this point. It feels like a team of destiny, one of the best teams, maybe the best team in all of college football. And on Thursday night, they will be the better team in this one, led by a man in Trinidad Chambliss that I'm not even fully convinced is all the way human at this point. This dude is an alien. He is of the school of Hogwarts. The dude's a wizard out there, the way he's making defenders miss and making plays. And just when you think you've got him, you don't. You don't. You see the hat, belt to ass. The chants of Pete will be ringing in Glendale, Arizona from all of those repping Hotty Toddy on Thursday night. Give me Ole Miss 34, Miami 28. A pick is never personal, and I will never apologize for making an incorrect prediction. But it's about damn time I tip the cap, eat my crow, and give Ole Miss the credit they deserve. And I think that'll come in Ole Miss punching their ticket to the national title game under one Pete Golding, a shot to win it all against either Indiana or Oregon. 34-28. Hotty Toddy, are you ready? Hell yeah, damn right. Let's do the damn thing in Glendale. Let's go, Cole. Let's go. I'm excited. I'm pumped for this game. And you know what? Ole Miss fans, there's probably a lot of them that are cursing my name right now. They'd probably rather me pick against them, although I picked you to beat Tulane. So that the math doesn't really math there, but it's okay. Either way. Either way. All right, Cole, my question for you is this, and everyone else tuned in, really briefly. Who do we believe Ole Miss will be playing in the national title? Just your real quick pick, Indiana, Oregon.
I watched Indiana lay waste against Alabama. And I think that Oregon is arguably one of the most dangerous teams in college football because of they are balanced. But I'll tell you what, when you look at a team like Indiana and how great they are at everything, you got to play perfect to win. I don't think that Oregon plays perfect. They're going up against Indiana.
I like Indiana as well. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's another point where you got to tip your cap. Oregon's a really good team, but Indiana's on a completely different level at this point, and that will make for a really interesting national title in the Thompson household because, as we all know, the Bears' father is a Hoosier alum, correct?
Yeah, very
Hoosier
big,
alum.
very, very big. Yeah. And he, let's just say that it wasn't only, IU fans in my comment section that decided to go ahead and lay waste to me. He sent it to his pledge brothers. He sent it to his old roommates. He sent it to the Alumni Association. He put it on the big screen whenever we were at halftime, said, remember when you said this, Cole? Remember when you said this thing? He let me have it. So I'll tell you what, it's going to be a very interesting time for me to go, hey, do I rely with the SEC because I love covering the SEC, or do I finally join forces with who is my father, who, kind of helped me go to an SEC school for college.
There you have it, guys. That's our picks. We are both going Ole Miss to beat the Miami Hurricanes. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your predictions. Who comes out on top in the Fiesta Bowl, Ole Miss or Miami? That being said, guys, got other news to get into. Let's run through it, Cole, really quickly. Again, lots of transfer portal news. We could literally spend hours upon hours trying to track it all, but certainly some very noteworthy tidbits coming out over the last few days. One of those being, speaking of Ole Miss, quarterback Austin Simmons has entered into the transfer portal, which I don't know if it comes as a total shock. It's just wild to think about the career arc that Austin Simmons has had from, watching him in person against Georgia, leading the Rebs down the field with a touchdown. I mean, many others thought he was going to be a star this year, to dealing with the injuries early in the season, losing his job to Trinidad Chambliss. The rest is history, obviously, and there was, wonder whether he would come back. He's entered the portal, and Cole, the rumors, reports, what have you, it's looking more likely than not the Missouri Tigers, Como, is going to be his landing spot. Your initial reactions to Austin Simmons, number one, leaving Ole Miss, but number two, Eli Drinkwitz and company jumping at the opportunity to land him as their QB1, which I'm sure you would believe if he gets back to form, that's a hell of a pickup for Eli and the guys.
Yeah, massive win if you're Mizzou. But from the standpoint of Ole Miss, I think a fresh start was probably warranted. You don't know if you were going to fit with John David Baker, who's going to be the next play caller, and he was going to be the right guy to get the best version out of you. You don't know Trey Chambliss' opportunities because he just applied for another year of eligibility. If he gets it, is he going to stick around? And it's going to be very hard to, I think, envision Ole Miss allowing Trey Chambliss to leave Oxford. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If he leaves, that's on his own accord, but they're going to make sure that every single penny that they can is going into his bank account so he's back. And you feel like that you're good enough to be a starter. So it makes sense on paper to hit reset on your career. But if you're Missouri, you're potentially getting a steal. Like, my opinion on who Austin Simmons can be, his ceiling, has not changed just because Trey Chambliss came on in and laid waste to opponents. Part of the reason he came on in was because of injury. But there are so many things to like about what you got in a guy like Austin Simmons. Number one, the arm strength is phenomenal. I mean, he can just let a easy little swing, go 60 yards, look like nothing. The footwork, I think, is great when it comes to creating opportunities. He's mobile. He's gonna get in the open field. He's gonna be a fit for what Chip Lindsey wants to run. There will be new quarterback design plays that just allow him to utilize his legs and make sure that he is able to pick up some first downs. There are things you got to work on, and he is a very still big work in progress. And part of the reason why the delay is going to be a big time deal is because he didn't play this year. Accuracy is going to be something that he's got to get better at. I think velocity and touch on the football is something he's got to get better at. Decision-making was an issue at times. He had multiple interceptions in his first 2 games. But all the things that you look at that could elevate a team's overall aura and the things that you need to work in a Chip Lindsey offense, they're all there for Austin Simmons. And so for Eli Drinkwitz to go from losing Bo Pabula, knowing that Matt Zollers needs at least competition. He may win the starting job, but he needs competition. And getting a guy with as much upside as Austin Simmons, that's a massive win for Mizzou. Like, this is the probable best case scenario that you can look at. And he's probably going to be one of the cheaper, more really smart finds and value finds in the NIL market to where you can spend money elsewhere. Bettering your defense, bettering your secondary, bettering your wide receiver core. Because you just lost Marquise Johnson to Mississippi State. Bettering your offensive line. So overall, it's a win, I think, for Simmons. I think it's a win for Mizzou. I don't think it's a loss for Ole Miss if they're able to keep Trey Chambliss, but regardless, it's a fresh start for everybody involved. I think that's a big win in itself.
Yeah, I think it's a huge upgrade from what you had at quarterback and obviously Bo Pabula this season. I'm still a believer in Austin Simmons, Cole. I think he can be a big-time player in this league. I thought he was destined to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. And I think just sometimes things just don't work out. You know, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You get injured and a guy steps up and he plays like the way he played. And we talked about earlier in the season, there's just no way you can bench a guy that's playing as well as Trinidad Chambliss did and is. And it obviously worked out for him. And yeah, I think a change of scenery with so much uncertainty. You don't know if Trinidad's going to be back. You don't know what that whole situation is. You kind of got to get out while the getting's good. So I don't blame him at all. And I hope he has success because I still think, I mean, there's some guys that may be right, wrong, or indifferent. You get attached to like one play or one drive or one moment. But man, that drive he had against Georgia was just one that you just like were salivating at what his potential is and what he could be. And here's to hoping he gets back to that. And yeah, I think under Drinking Company, I think that the offense for them is going to be back to being really fun, pushing the ball downfield. I think it could be a really good fit there. So
very, very interested to see how he fits in Chip Lindsey's offense paired alongside with Ahmad Hardy. Because remember, Ahmad Hardy was barely used in the second half of that Virginia game. And that's not going to be a thing that you can utilize moving forward. Like, he has got to be priority number 1. And I think that adding in a guy like Austin Simmons, it gets you back to that mobile ground and pound. We trust the vertical passing attack. A lot of things to clean up, but a lot of things to like about 13 being QB1.
Cole, let's move to another quarterback potentially finding a home at a SEC school. And this is a big one. This is a notable name here because Arizona State's Sam Leavitt, who, of course, last season, not this season, but last season led the Sun Devils of the College Football Playoff. A bit of a step back or a drop down, if you will, this season, reportedly headed to Kentucky. And the numbers, by the way, for NIL sound crazy for what he's commanding. But, I mean, Cole, This has got to be a huge win for Will Stein, the new head coach, right? I mean, this is, and you got to get other pieces around him. Don't get me wrong. It's not just one guy, but if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance. They've done some other things in the portal as well, but landing a Sam Leavitt, Cole, it already feels like it says to me, there is a new energy and a new excitement around this program that you did not have with Mark Stoops. I don't think you get a Sam Leavitt in there if Mark Stoops obviously is still the head coach. And maybe if nothing else, Cole, they're going to be fun as hell to watch on offense because a guy like Sam Leavitt is a playmaker. He can do some big things. And, heck, maybe Kentucky's a candidate for bounce-back team of 2026. It's still very early to say, but – boy, you get a guy like that under center, man. This is a big-time ball player.
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's not set in stone because he still is going to visit LSU, and that might be a big deciding factor is that I want to go play with Lane Kiffin, and the offense I just saw win against Georgia. But it Will Stein, who, let me remind everybody, has had 4 straight top 20 scoring offenses from his time at UTSA to Oregon, taking 2 quarterbacks to a Heisman Trophy finalist appearance. Another one to a college football playoff semifinal. Says, I want you to be my quarterback. You listen. You have to listen. How can you not listen to what you've already seen with proven results? And I think it's a major win for Kentucky because it's showing that they're willing to invest behind a guy that they truly believe in. Will Stein coming into a situation of replacing the greatest coach in terms of wins in program history was already a big deal. But this is a guy that is living, breathing Wildcat football. He played at Louisville, but his dad played at Kentucky. His family all is Wildcats. He loves Kentucky. And they are giving him a runway to go ahead and say, get your quarterback, get your offensive personnel. We're going to trust you. Now, I do wonder, it's been reported that Joe Sloan, the new offense coordinator, is going to call plays. So is that going to be a hindrance to where, okay, we just saw what happened with Garrett Nussmeier. We're not really sold on that. Could that be something that derails this? Maybe a little, but if Will Stein is in charge of you and he's helping you kind of grow and blossom, massive win. But there is a key point here, Chris. You can't just go out. You can't bring in just a Sam Leavitt. Like Sam Leavitt, I'll be completely real. I think when Sam Leavitt's at his peak, he is a top 10 quarterback in college football. Even after what we saw this season with some injuries and some miscues, still believe he's a top 10 quarterback in college football. But this is the SEC. It's a 9-game conference schedule. It still is one of the more challenging schedules in the SEC. You can't do it alone. You got to go out and add in a running back. You got to make a play for Trey Weissner. You got to go out and add in multiple wide receivers. There was rumors that they were in on Malcolm Simmons. There was rumors that they were in on DeAndre Moore from Texas. You got to land 1 or 2 of them. You got to bolster up your offensive line. You got to spend money on the defensive side. Because it's really cool to get a guy like Sam Leavitt and say, oh, he's throwing for 3,200 yards and 26 touchdowns. Right, but he's doing so on a 5-7 team. They're not a playoff team. When he could go down to LSU, and that is a playoff team with Lane Kiffin at the helm. So a lot of things that need to go behind Sam Leavitt. But I'll tell you what's the easiest way to sell a program? Got a damn good coach, got a damn good play caller, got a damn good quarterback. You get all of those 3s locked up, wide receivers want to go to Lexington. They want to be catching balls from Sam Leavitt. Running backs want to be running behind Sam Leavitt. Offensive linemen want to be up front blocking for a guy that they believe could be a Heisman Trophy finalist. And again, we've seen programs be able to be built overnight. Indiana's a perfect example of this. And just because they come from a JMU or a G5 school, it doesn't mean that they're bad. It's all about the culture that is set in place and the strategy of being able to build through the reps in practice. And a guy like Will Stein might be that person. So, I think it's a really smart move if you're able to go get him. I don't know if it'll be great for his NFL career, but I don't really care about what you do on the Sunday game. I care about the Saturday game. And right now for the Saturday game, that'd be great for Lexington to land a guy like Sam Leavitt.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Like you mentioned, Cole, nothing's set in stone till you get on the dotted line and get everything signed and get him really on campus. But would be a huge win for Will Stein, no doubt. And again, it already feels like the energy around Kentucky football has shifted a bit. You mentioned quarterback, play caller, some weapons. It's a good recipe for success. We'll see if Kentucky can do it in 2026. Cole, we got other news and notes to get into, and also your questions. Before we do, though, guys, really briefly, I want to stop and tell you about our friends over at Underdog, because, again, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at Underdog. Guys, football season in full swing. Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. You can get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. And guys, it's not just football. They've got college basketball as well. And in case you missed it, conference play is in full swing when it comes to SEC basketball this week, guys. I'm looking at the Tuesday, Wednesday slate. How about it on Thursday? Essentially every day this week. Thursday, we've got the College Football Playoff, and Friday as well. They've got that. They've got NFL, of course. The playoffs are about to get essentially underway this next weekend. They've got all those guys there as well. Again, I'm looking at all of these games, and we'll be dropping picks for the majority of these games as well. So again, want to make sure you are in on the action. Download the app today and use the promo code SECU to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code SECU. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 and up in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right, let's keep it going, Cole. We got other news and notes to get into, just some fun things I want to discuss with you. First things first, this Ole Miss LSU coaching conundrum thing just continues to go day after day after day. Who is where? What is happening? Guys are back down in Baton Rouge less than 24 hours after Ole Miss's game against Georgia. We're all trying to figure out who's going to coach in the semifinal against Miami. Charlie Weiss Jr. obviously is on staff, going to call the plays. It sounds like Kevin Smith, who they were like, no, he's back in Baton Rouge. Oh, no, now he's going to be in Oxford. He's in Oxford right now. Cole, I'm beyond the point of saying it's going to be a distraction for this football team, because I've said that and been dead wrong. So I don't think it really matters for the game necessarily, but what a cluster this is. It's like, I mean, what do we make? I don't even know what to really make of this. It's just fueling the fire that is the hatred between Ole Miss and LSU people. And it's entertaining to watch, but it's really hard to keep up with who's where at this point.
It's also really challenging because there are two truths to this, if we're being completely honest. The first is that Ole Miss has an opportunity to win the national title. Ole Miss has an opportunity to, without Lane Kiffin, run through a gauntlet of 4 straight games and guarantee their spot in the national championship and win the whole damn thing. And to a certain extent, that's because of the coaches that were on staff with Lane Kiffin. But on the flip side, Lane Kiffin hired you to be on the staff at LSU. And at LSU, we're in the transfer portal period. And we got guys who are looking around and saying, I want to come to certain schools. I got to make sure that you're going to be on campus when I'm there. Oh, you're getting ready for a bowl game. And remember this, Chris, we talked about that last season when like Texas missed out on a few guys. Like I remember Max Clare was like the really big name, the tight end from Purdue, came and visited Texas. And Texas really wanted to go ahead and land him, but they were so focused in on their bowl game against Ohio State. So he goes to Ohio State, and apparently Ohio State just blows him out of the water with NIL, and they pay really much attention to him. And it ends up leading to him signing with the Buckeyes. So if you have all these players right now, all these coaches right now that are on staff at Ole Miss, and they're getting ready for a bowl game, but you have Lane sitting back here in Baton Rouge waiting to get people acclimated, get people on the same schedule, on the same workout regimen, off-season drills, and you can't have them there. Well, I hired you to be there. But then you flip it to the other side. Lane, right now, maybe buyer's remorse in the public eye. It's not buyer's remorse because if you took the job that I think that you really wanted. I can live with that. But the spotlight's not on you. The spotlight's on Ole Miss and what Ole Miss has been able to do without you. And here's the one thing that we know about Lane. Lane, love him or hate him, loves Lane. He does. And he is not handling right now, I think, pretty well that, hey, Ole Miss won without me against Georgia. And they might beat Miami. And I'm sitting here in Baton Rouge, and I took this job. And by the way, don't think for 1 second that there's not pressure on you at LSU year one. Curt Cignetti turned around the losingest program in college football history in 2 years. And he's 2 wins away with no resources 1 year. You think for 1 second Lane is going to have like this long leash? There's pressure on him to deliver. I can't sit here and watch as the team that I left wins a national title without me, putting even more pressure on me. I can get really petty if I want to. And that makes you look even worse in the public eye. And that makes you public enemy number one in LSU a bad rep. But it's business. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. And I credit Kevin Smith and I credit Charlie Wise Jr. to be able to handle the balance of both. But at the same time, you got hired to be in the staff at LSU. And if Lane wants to do this, Lane can ruin a legacy. He's already done enough damage out in Oxford. He can really ruin what was a good thing by taking them to say, if you want to be on my staff next year, you come today. Or there's not a spot for you. I'm hiring somebody else. And by the way, you can't say at Ole Miss because they hired Frank Wilson. They hired John David Baker. So you don't have a job. He can get to that level if he wants to go so full on petty.
Yeah, it's I mean, let's put a reality TV show around it at this point. Just this drama between LSU and Ole Miss. I don't know when or if it's ever going to go away at this point with as long as Lane is at LSU. But yeah, the swapping of coaches and obviously the coaches that are on staff at essentially two schools at this point, just weird. It's just weird, man. And like, think of the tampering, quote unquote tampering.
Yeah.
That's going on right now.
I mean, just watched your running back at LSU and the running back that everyone is channeling in and praising for playing with the busted shoulder. He's probably getting told by his running backs coach, hey, Caden Durham might be coming to Oxford. You're still coming to Baton Rouge, right? Like, that has to be a conversation that's going on.
Yeah. I mean, they got to be texting about it. Like, it has to be happening. So, Cole, another big piece of news that dropped. This was very, very interesting. Texas wide receiver Parker Livingstone, who really burst on the scene this year, he announced his intentions to enter, or his plans, essentially, that he was entering the transfer portal. This happened yesterday. And, of course, it was the typical, I want to thank God, my family, my friends, everybody who got me to this point. With that being said, but in the midst of this statement, very interestingly enough, it included, quote, some things are out of my control, such as the ever-changing landscape of college football, which got a lot of people talking. Hey, did Steve Sarkisian, did Texas, did they push him out? Like, what happened? Is this NIL related? Is it something beyond that? Well, obviously, Texas folks, what are they going to do? They're going to defend Texas if they believe, obviously, Texas is in the right. Bobby Burton of On Texas Football, a guy that we know really, really well. Those folks at On Texas Football do a great job. He essentially said, and there's been others I've seen in the Texas media have echoed this as well, Livingstone was offered a mid-six-figure NIL/rev share deal, turned it down. The offer was never withdrawn, but yeah, he was forced out involuntarily, whatever. That was him replying to someone else. So again, the belief is that there was a deal on the table. Maybe it wasn't enough for him. He felt like he deserved more. I mean, you look at Parker Livingstone's stats, obviously, as a freshman, 29 catches, 516 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had a really, really good year as a freshman. Then it also comes out, Cole, that he is eyeing Oklahoma, which could make this thing
really interesting,
really messy, to where I've seen some Texas fans on the timeline kind of, let's just say they're not wishing him well out the door. So, because Cole, initially I was asking the question, did Steve Sarkisian push him out? And I don't think like these Texas folks that they cover the team, I don't think they're pulling this stuff out of thin air. I'm sure there was an offer on the table for him.
There was. I mean, I can tell you I've heard that the number ranged just under $1 million, a little bit less than 850,000. Don't quote me on that because I know there's been a lot of people that have said otherwise. So I don't want to go say one thing that may or may not be true, but it wasn't $1 million. Basically, what I was told is that they're making a ploy for Cam Coleman out of Auburn. They are doing everything possible to guarantee that he is wide receiver number 1. And the other name I've heard is Isaac Brown, the running back from Louisville, is their top target in the tailback position. So those are 2 premier names that they want to add in to bolster up weapons around Arch Manning. And they went to Parker and said, hey, Livingston, you are a wide receiver number 3, lower wide receiver number 2. This is what we're willing to pay for that. And he wants to be paid like a wide receiver number 1. And I can understand from a standpoint of, yeah, you think that you're worth it. Okay, go test the market and see what it says. Because sometimes you're going to learn pretty quickly, like Nico Iamaleava learned pretty quickly. Hey, I'm supposed to be worth $4 million. Well, here's what we really think of you at UCLA. And you burned all those bridges down in Tennessee, so you can't go back there. So you're going to take the money that we give you and you're going to sit down and shut up. And maybe that will happen with him. What I do think is that he is a great wide receiver. He's a good compliment. I've heard that Oklahoma's in the running for him. I've heard potentially USC could go after him. I've heard Indiana is very much in play for him. And if he goes to Indiana, I'll tell you what, he will be developed great in the Sinceri offense and Curt Cignetti's play designs that will help him become a potential all Big Ten player. And eventually he'll make it to the NFL and he'll get paid the millions of dollars that he wants. But Texas made it pretty clear, this is what we view you as. You can either take it or you can leave it. There's no harm in that. You are more than happy to test whatever is out there for you. But sometimes when you burn that bridge, there's not a place for you to go back afterwards. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. Texas is swinging this year to build around Arch Manning to compete for a national title. They know that they were able to be in the running this past season and they came up short. They got to do everything possible to make sure that they do not fail in 2026. So I don't think he was forced out. I think he was told, we're not giving you more. You can take it or leave it, which means if you don't take this, then you are out of here. And ultimately, that's what happened. And DeAndre Moore can make that case, and several others can make that case. But they like some of their younger players. They want to swing big at some other names.
So what do you think of his phrasing in his statement?
It's very weird. Because
you think it's a kid just being kind of like salty, like a little petty?
To an extent, but I don't think he's wrong either. We are in a new day and age of college football. And this is where college football fans think need to all come together. And maybe we'll clip this part, but like this is where college football fans need to realize your roster is a one-year rental at this point. We saw over 4,000 players go into the transfer portal from the end of the regular season to now. Not because of coaching firings, not because of your switched up personnel. It's because of you're trying to go to the highest bidder. And so every offseason, several names that you thought would never, ever, ever even test the waters, they're being told bad advice or good advice. And they're now throwing their name into the ring so they can get a couple $1 million. That's the new normal college football. You talk about how there's so much roster change because of, players leaving for the NFL draft, players leaving because of the transfer portal, and because of what you're bringing in recruiting. You have to throw the transfer portal probably as the number one thing before the NFL draft. Because if there is a name that may or may not end up being a draftable prospect, they'll stick around in college for 6 years. They'll get paid a lot of money. They'll sue the NCAA to gain another year of eligibility, and they'll turn into Diego Pavia. And there's nothing wrong with that if you want it that way. But still, that's the new norm. He said a good point. The changing times of college football. What are the changing times? Rosters are always going to be bought. Rosters are always going to have turnover. Don't fall in love with the character. Don't fall in love with the player that be a part of your team long term. He may not be here next year because a higher bidder wants him. That's just the nature of the business.
And it's the sad reality, Cole. I mean, listen, college football's healthy. Look at the numbers of some of the bowl games. Even someone like me who's saying, hey, is bowl season not what it used to be? Well, people are still watching bowl games. I mean, there's no doubt. But it is one of those things that wears on fans a bit. And you hate to hear it, but it is the reality. You're not wrong. It's a 1-year rental. And yeah, this is the new day and age of college football. So Parker Livingstone, going to be very interesting to see where he ends up. I thought he was a good fit at Texas, but things change.
I think he goes to Indiana personally, and then he will be paired alongside. Which, by the way, Indiana's killing it. Like
they are.
They're here to stay. Like if you are like, oh, the Curt Cignetti, like dude, they're here. They landed Nick Marsh. Nick Marsh had offers from Notre Dame and USC and LSU, and he picked Indiana. Josh Hoover had offers from Tennessee. Josh Hoover had offers from other SEC schools. He picked Indiana. They're not going away. Like they're going to be a threat from here on out.
Cole, that being said, there's been a lot of other transfer portal madness. I'll kind of open it up to you a little bit. Anything else that has jumped out to you of significance that you want to highlight? I would say the one big one that I will bring up, of course, there's been movement in the SEC. Georgia, they got a big one today. Clemson safety transfer, Khalil Barnes. He was a guy who made 30 starts at Clemson, 139 tackles, 7 interceptions in his career. I do think that's a big one also. Marquise Johnson going from Mizzou to Mississippi State. Another weapon for Jeff Lebby and company on the offensive side. Keon Keeley from Alabama. Now I'm just starting to list them all off. Keon Keeley from Alabama. This was a guy, number 1 defensive end from the class of 2023. We'll see where he ends up. Rico Scott from Alabama is into the portal. Welcome Formby has entered the portal. Alabama's had a lot of movement. And then Tennessee got a big one today in Quay Moss from Kansas State. 41 tackles, 2 INTs, a forced fumble, and a sack this season. I just mentioned a bunch and threw a bunch at you, Cole, but any major big takeaways right now? Obviously, the portal's only been open for a few days, and it's only going to continue to go crazy, and we're going to get commitments and stuff like that, and you guys will get our full thoughts and reactions on it. But what stood out to you early on in the portal being open?
I'll tell you what, he may be a new head coach, but he's landed some really good defensive players. I've been very impressed with what Ole Miss has done so far in just the last few days. They were able to go bolster up their secondary, which I think is a massive win because this is a team that is going to be a codependent defensive coach leading the charge. So they're going to need to be able to bring some names on the back end. What they were able to go target with a guy like Sharif Denson, who can play in the nickel position. He can play on the outside. It's a really good pair alongside with Jay Crawford, who comes on in from Auburn. Those are two guys that can really, I think, fix some areas in the back end of your defense. The other thing is that they went out and they added in Keaton Thomas, the linebacker from Baylor. I think that's going to be a really nice find in terms of depth pieces. And the same thing for Jonathan Maldonado. I mean, you talk about names like you don't need to go swing for the big time fences right now, but the fact that you're currently working your way through portal additions and also recruiting and trying to retain your players, and while you're also trying to make sure that you prepare for a college football semifinal, to land 4 names when Alabama's losing names and they're not gaining any, and South Carolina is losing names and they're not gaining any, and LSU, the guy that your coach has left for, they're not really bringing in a lot of names. They brought in the Hawaii wide receiver. That's the only name so far they've landed. I think that says a lot about where the program is to understand. Now that we've shown that we can win without Lane Kiffin, now that we've shown that we can get to this level, we can't go back to being an 8-4 team. So we got to put our money where our mouth is, and we got to be able to start spending, and we got to spend on the right players. They've done some really nice things defensively to put themselves in a good position for 2026.
Yeah, we'll have a full breakdown, guys, when the portal closes. I'm sure Cole would be down with this. I think it'd be fun to kind of look back what the portal rankings are, who the biggest winners, maybe if there's any losers in the transfer portal. But some of the highest impact guys, we'll have a full breakdown. And right now it is admittedly kind of like drinking water out of a fire hose. When the dust settles, Cole and I will be here to give you a full breakdown and just talk about, because these are the stars of tomorrow at each of these schools to go along with the recruiting classes and the high school talent as well. We all know this is where you supplement your roster to make a deep run. We have seen that. Look at Ole Miss with a kid from Ferris State who is under center leading the way. So you just never know. That being said, Cole, let's put a pin in it. Really, really fun show tonight, my friend. Any closing comments or last words? We will be back, by the way, guys, on Wednesday. Like I mentioned, we're going to shift in that afternoon slot, 2 o'clock Central. But Cole, any final thoughts or words before we chop it up on Wednesday, which will be game day eve for the Fiesta Bowl?
See you tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Tomorrow.
Very good point.
I can just see you tomorrow, so I don't have to say anything. I'll just talk to you tomorrow.
Natty, the FCS Natty. Let's do it, baby. That's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Go Bobcats.
And hey,
Bobcats.
Weather's warming up in Nashville too. The high, I believe, is like mid-60s tomorrow, or like low 60s. So
what's the low tomorrow?
Like 50, I think. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be pretty nice.
So I don't need a full on parka. I just
no. Like it's gonna be like nice golf weather this week.
There you go.
You're in like right now outside, I think it's like 30, but it's gonna warm up
beautiful
throughout the week. So I mean, listen, Mother Nature said, hey, we got an FCS title to crown. So let's get some decent weather.
We gotta make it at least fair for Illinois State because of the people out in Montana State playing blizzards every other night.
Now I'm curious if there's a spread in this game. You'd have to think there is somewhere.
Of course there is.
Maybe not. I have no idea. I have no clue. I'll have to do some digging and find that. But yeah, I will see you tomorrow, my friend. Going to be a lot of fun. Guys, we will see you all on Wednesday and really throughout this week, guys. You already know the drill. Make sure you follow us all across the social media channels. Everywhere you get your content, you can find us there. He's at Mr. Cole Thompson. I'm at CPhilly19, essentially everywhere. So check us both out as well. The podcast version of this show, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, of course. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to get those notifications, and check out our website, secunfiltered.com. We really appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday night. For Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. This is The Overtime Drive. Y'all take care. We'll talk to you all on the other side. Cheers.